What is up YouTube, and welcome to this Shadow and Bone ending explained video. Shadow and Bone is an adaptation of the first novel in what is known as the Grishaverse, or the Grisha trilogy. The story follows Alina Starkov, an orphan in Ravka, and if being an orphan isn't hard enough, she is part Shu and hated by people she comes across due to the Shu being the enemy of the Ravka. The kingdom of Ravka and general area and surrounding countries are ravaged by war, a war that is seemingly never ending, and Ravka is at the centre, having been split in half by the Fold. It's a mystical area of darkness filled with monsters and creepy ghouls, and it essentially traps the people of East Ravka from not only the other half of their nation, but they are stuck and surrounded by the other nations jockeying for power. The Fold, or the Shadow Fold, was created by the Darkling, an almost mystical creature in the world and history, except the Darkling lived in a time when he and his fellow Grisha were hunted and treated like dirt. However, he did live on to be the boy, the man himself, played by Ben Barnes, General Kerrigan. Now, he was actually the king's advisor way back before the Fold was created and helped him to win his wars, but was outcast and hunted when the elite was scared of his spooky powers. The Grisha do not call themselves magic, but they manipulate the small, essentially controlling energy and elements around them. They don't really create anything new. However, the Darkling, played by Ben Barnes, was desperate to save his fellow Grisha and to find his mother Bagra, played by the superb Zoe Wanamaker. Now, he used forbidden magic known as the Merzost. The magic was made by his ancestor Ilya Morozova, and in his rage against soldiers coming to attack, he accidentally created the Fold, and the creatures were made from the soldiers and the people of the area the Fold was created in. However, he heeds advice from his mother to go into hiding and take a nobleman's name, and when there is a time the king needs the Grisha, then he can help the king and his fellow Grisha. Now, many years have passed, and the Grisha are actually in high demand, as they are the only ones who can help fight the monsters and navigate through the Fold, splitting up Ravka, and our boy has taken the name Kerrigan and leads his own second army of Grisha. Now, Alina, our orphan here, is attempting to cross the Fold with her childhood friend Mal, who have not been tested successfully to be Grisha. Mal could not be tested due to being injured, and Alina tricked the test so she and Mal can stay together. However, while being a map maker in the army, she manages to get assigned to Mal's trip through the Fold. Their ship is attacked by former people, now creepy-ass monsters, due to some moron fidgeting about. However, when all seems lost, Alina lets out so much light, which looked stunning in 4K HDR. I notice a lot of the time 4K does not look that impressive on streaming, but this really did, and helps people survive, including Mal, who thought he was dead, but this was curiously triggered by touching Mal. Now, he is incredibly integral to the story and later on in the books, and spoiler warning, there will be some book spoilers henceforth. He is revealed to be an amplifier, someone who can increase the power of the Grisha, except when Alina crosses the Fold, she is taken to Kerrigan, the Darkling, and he becomes obsessed with her and places her with the Summoner Grisha, and even aims to use her to destroy the Fold. That's what he tells her, and no one knows that he is in fact the Darkling. However, in secret, he really wants to use it and move it around at will, something he can use to have power and influence. All the while, we have the criminal organization known as the Crows, who in the books, they actually aren't involved at this point, but we have a prologue story of them hunting for Alina after all of this, and the public christen Alina the Sun Saint. However, predictably, she does end up falling for Kerrigan. I mean, Ben Barnes is a handsome chap. All the while, her Grisha powers are being trained by Bagra. Of course, this is very curious, and she manages to actually escape in the end after meeting Mal, who has spent all this time looking for her. Now, Kerrigan did actually deliberately keep them apart, but before she flees, she was actually told of 4 magical amplifiers made by someone known as the Bonesmith, one of the first recorded Grisha. She's told this by the Apparat, who is a legendary comedic actor in the UK, and he was absolutely creepy, very creepy. And the Bonesmith is actually, funnily enough, the Darkling's ancestor and is Ilyana Morozova. Makes sense because Morozova's stag. These are mythical creatures such as the stag, the sea whip, and the firebird. The stag is the one that Mal was hunting to bring to the little palace for Kirigan so he can meet Alina once more, but the pair head off together to find it before the Darkling can, but it's killed by our boy Kirigan. But there's one problem. In secret, Alina has been having visions of this stag, and the person who kills it, well, the person who kills it gains its power, except it chose to give Alina its power this time. She is forced, however, to have a bond with our boy Kirigan, and the stag's antlers are attached to her, and she tethers to Kirigan so he can use her powers and his own while they're both amplified. Kirigan now demonstrates his power by making a safe route through the fold while foreign ambassadors watch, but he then reveals his true plan of expanding the fold and even moving it as he envelops a whole town. But Alina, with the power of the stag, breaks their bond and seemingly kills him. However, we see him head out of the fold later as he is immortal and will chase Alina and Mal. He has new creatures called the Nichevoya with him and come from his Murzos powers, and they can operate outside of the fold. Pretty creepy, huh? However, it's not smooth sailing as the king has been poisoned, and the Apparat, who is now controlling things at the palace, will blame the Grisha, and she's told to make new allies. But it's lucky that the remaining amplifiers are animals, and Mal is a master tracker, as they will go and find them. Meanwhile, the crows, after their attempts to kidnap Alina, are heading back to a whole lot of trouble. But luckily, they run into a heartrender, which they need. This heartrender was sent to stop them way back when. As much as I enjoyed the crows, I really felt like they did take away from the more interesting story of the Grisha. Not to say the crow story isn't interesting, they're just very, very different. Now, the new prequel story is cool and intertwined with the original story, but I would much prefer moving forward a spin-off so we can give both stories room to breathe. And I love the show as a whole. I love the whole Tsar punk, which is so refreshing as well. Everything's just for some reason always in Victorian London, and it's nice to watch something that isn't actually superheroes. But let me know what you think down below in the comments. Please do drop a like, and please do have a good day. I'll see you soon, and goodbye.